Enthusiasm can make a big difference in a person's life. Enthusiasm about life, being enthusiastic about facing the day. You know, if you wake up and it's like, oh man, I got to go to work today. I just couldn't live that way. I have lived that way. I told you about the time I worked at Mercedes. I hated every minute of that job. And I finally went back to doing what I liked. Went back to repoing until I was able to be back in the ministry. But enthusiasm about life will make a great difference in your life. But you sometimes have to reach down and pull that up. You know, the Bible says a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. You know, having a merry heart, having a good attitude, having a good outlook. You know, you've got to find the positive in it somewhere. There's some positive there somewhere. Little boy went to a dance at his grade school, and his mama told him, said, you know, you need to be sure to say nice things to people. You know, always be complimentary. Don't say nothing bad. Say nice things. And so he saw a little girl. She's a little heavy-set girl over to the side there, and she wasn't dancing. So he said, I guess I'll invite her to dance. And so they got out there and was dancing, and you know, he said, you know, my mama told me I needed to say something nice. He said, you don't sweat much for a fat gal. Well, that's not exactly what she was talking about, but he tried his best. But you know, to have a positive outlook on life, and to have a positive outlook and think outside the box. You know, think outside the box. I pulled up to a Home Depot a few weeks ago, and there was a lady sitting in the truck, and she just sitting out there, had the windows rolled down and sitting there. And you know, I try to be nice to people. I try to be friendly. And I got out of my car, and she was just sitting there, and evidently her husband had gone in to get something. She was waiting. I told her, I said, you know, ma'am, if you'd behave, he'd let you go in there with him next time. She just laughed. She said, yeah, I guess he would. And I'll pull up next to somebody that has a nice car. And if they got the window down, maybe a convertible. I've done it a lot of times with somebody in a convertible. Now I'll pull up to a light and somebody sitting next to me, and I'll say, hey. He looked over and I said, the Lord told me you were going to give me that car. It always goes over pretty funny with them. And they always say, most of the time they say, well, I guess if he's told you that, he'll tell me too. And when he does, I'll look you up. But you know, having a good outlook on life, you're not going to get out of this life alive anyway. I got news for you. You'll live till you die if you don't get killed. So you may as well make the best of it. I told you yesterday about going to the doctor and having the test, and I got to go back in a couple of weeks. So I got to go back in a week and have a PET scan because I got a spot on my lung, but he said it didn't look bad and it's going to be okay. So, you know, Regina, don't cash the insurance check yet, and then go back and get the results. And, you know, you could look at that and I could think, oh man, it's terrible, it's bad. Don't look at it that way. I know people who sit and watch TV, and when the commercials come on for this disease or that disease, their first thought is, I got that. I know I got that. That's what I've had. I've had that. Oh, come on. You don't have that. All the things we worried about last week, last month, last year, all those things are over and done with. Life is good. And if you'll approach it as good, you'll enjoy it. You know, sad fact is, we get to the end of our life and we look back and think, you know, my life was pretty good. But we don't enjoy it during the trip. And that's what I'm trying to get you to do is, you know, enjoy the trip. Think outside the box. Told a story one time about, and I probably told it on here. What would you do? Now, this is an illustration of thinking outside the box. You're driving along, and it's pouring down rain. Man, it is blistering rain. I mean, it's just pelting rain. And you're in your little MG or Triumph, you know, little two-seater car, and you pull up to a stop sign, and there's a bus stop there. And there's 3 people waiting for a bus. There's your best friend, one of your dearest friends who saved your life one time. He's there. He's waiting, or she's there. They're there waiting for a bus. It's pouring down rain. They're getting soaked. There's the woman or the man of your dreams. The person of your dreams. The woman of your dreams. She's there. The one that you've been looking for. You know that's her. You can just tell by looking at her. And there's an old lady there who's not well. She's sick and she's trying to get to the doctor to get some help. Now, what do? You can only take one. Which one do you take? What do? You take your best friend who saved your life one time and pass up the woman of your dreams and the old lady who's sick? Do you take the woman of your dreams and leave your best friend and the old lady? Or do you take the old lady and leave your best friend and the woman of your dreams? What you do is you give your car keys to your best friend, have him take the old lady to the doctor, and you stay in the rain with the woman of your dreams. That's thinking outside the box. That's getting it taken care of right there. But it all depends on your outlook. Thinking that, it's like I told you yesterday about that fellow that was sitting at the red light, and he was sitting there and, doing something, and when the light turned green for the folks next to him and they started going, he started going too, not realizing that he'd run the red light. And I'm sure he realized it when he saw nobody else was coming, if he ever did. But, pay attention to what's going on in your life and think outside the box. You don't have to do next week what you did last week. You can change. You can make a choice. If you don't like your life, you can change it. You can change it today. You can change your attitude today. I tell these guys at the DRC, you can change your mind. You can turn around 180 degrees right now. You can change your life today, because if you change your mind, you can change your life. It's a slow process. It's not going to happen overnight. You may have to reap some of the bad things that you've sown, but you can change your life. It can be different. But enthusiasm is going to make a difference. I heard Les Brown tell a story about he was in New York and he was going somewhere, and he was in a hurry to get somewhere, and he was going, walking down the street, and people were saying, "Sir, your shoes are a mess. Would you let me shine your shoes?" And he said, No, I ain't got time. And he went along there, and somebody said, Sir, let me shine your shoes. Your shoes need shining. He said, No, I ain't got time. And he walked around the corner, and there's a guy going 98, 99, 100. Sir, and he's talking to him. He said, Sir, today's my birthday, and I said every year on my birthday to give back to the world how good I've got things. I always, the 100th person that comes along, I shine their shoes for free. Would you do me the honor of letting me shine your shoes for free? And Les Brown said, well, sure, man, I'll do that. And he sat down there, and that guy's shining on his shoes, and them shoes are looking good, man. He could see himself reflected in them shoes. He said, I forget the amount. He said, what do you get normally for shining shoes? He said $2, and he gave him $5, and he said, man, that looks great. Happy birthday. Gave him $5, and as he turned to walk away, he heard the shoe shine man going 98, 99, 100. He was using that, but hey, it worked. He was using it, and he was making a connection with people. He was connecting with folks. He didn't just communicate. He connected. He made that connection, and he made a difference in his own life. He made them feel better. He felt better as well. If we go through life all wrapped up in our own stuff and are wrapped up in our own stuff and looking at other people and wondering how people got where they got. Sometimes we look at people and we think, well, they just work harder than I did, or they just had more breaks than I did. Really, a person, you got people that work hard. I mean, construction people, they work hard, but they're not all rich. Construction people, there are people that work hard. It's not working harder that you need, it's working smarter. It's laying that foundation of a good character and having an attitude that's willing to help others, an attitude that's willing to persevere when bad things happen. And bad things are going to happen to everybody. But don't quit. Don't give up. Life's going to knock you down, but just get right back up. Just keep getting back up. It doesn't matter how many times you fail. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. It doesn't matter how many times you mess up. It does not matter how many times you mess up. Somebody said, well, I don't lose. I just hadn't learned how to win yet. Well, that's true. I don't lose, but I just hadn't learned how to win yet. But failure is a bruise, not a tattoo. You don't have to accept it. And a lot of times we think, well, if I can just win life's lottery, we watch the shows Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, or these shows where they show like people that won the lottery and all the things they got. And it's very rare that somebody who wins the lottery will continue on in a successful lifestyle because they've not changed their character. I'd printed this up off of the computer a long time ago. It's a picture of an iceberg. You got an iceberg here, and what you see with an iceberg, you just see the top. You just see the top sticking out. But they say, and it's true, most of the iceberg is underwater. That's what got the Titanic. Most of the iceberg is underwater. And when you see somebody that's successful, you see the success. You see the nice house. You see the nice car. You see the vacation or the swimming pool or whatever it is. All you see is what's on top. You don't see all the things that are under that. You don't see the hard work, the risk, the late night, the struggles, the sacrifices that they make, the persistence, the discipline that they have. You don't see all that stuff. That stuff is hidden. That stuff is underwater. That stuff is underground. You don't see the criticism that they've had to fight against. You don't see the disappointments or the adversity or the problems, the rejections and the sacrifices that they've made. You don't see all that. That's why you got people now that are driving. They're driving a car that the rims are worth more than the car, and they're on food stamps, but they drive around. They want to have the look of success without the success, and it's shallow. Let's say that okay, here's somebody that wins the lottery, and how many times does this happen? They win the lottery. And all of a sudden they're here. They've got success. They've got houses. They've got cars. They've got everything that they thought would make them happy. And so they spend all their money, but they don't have all of this down here. If you don't have the basics, if you don't have the right foundation, you know what's going to happen? This is going to flip over and it's going to be gone. And that's what happens to so many people because they try to have success without the character. They try to have success without the dedication. They try to have success without the right attitude. Well, if I was successful, I'd have a good attitude. No, if you have a good attitude, you'd be successful. Well, if I was making a lot of sales, I'd be happy. No, if you was happy, you'd make a lot of sales. I heard a story. I read a story out of See You at the Top. Probably one of the first motivational books that I ever read was See You at the Top by Zig Ziglar. And he tells a story in there. And he was, I don't remember all of it, but there was a salesman who was selling cookware, selling a set of cookware. And one guy was just, he was just having a tough time. He wasn't selling cookware and he just couldn't seem to get his act together in selling this stuff. And so he called a friend of his who was a co-worker who was selling a lot of cookware. And he called him over and he came over to his house and he said, sit down in the kitchen with him, and he said, "Man, I just can't seem to sell. I can't seem to make the sale. I can make the presentation, but I can't make the close. I can't convince them." And the good salesman was sitting there in the kitchen with him, and he looked around and he saw that this guy had an assortment of old beat up pots and pans and skillets and all kinds of stuff. And he said, "Man, I'll tell you what your problem is." He said, "You're not sold on your product. You're not sold on it. If you're not sold on it, nobody else is going to be sold on it. If I'm going to sell what John Jones buys, then I've got to see through John Jones' eyes. I've got to understand that this stuff is good, and you see, if I'm sold on it, if I believe it, I can convince you. But if I don't really believe it, I'm just kind of reading you've had people call you up, "Yes, sir, we want you to buy this. We think that this will be just for you. We picked this out." You know good and well they're reading that. But when somebody's really, that they've experienced it themselves, and I'm telling you, friend, if you'll start looking on the good side of life, if you'll reach down there and make it a habit, you start driving and you have to drive by, carefully thinking. You think about this and you think about that and you think about this and you have to, but after a while, it's automatic. You get in the car and take off not even thinking. Why? You've done it so much, it's habit. Well, if you'll do that same thing about your attitude, if you'll do that same thing about your outlook, it'll change your outlook. It'll change your life. You can have a great life. Life is good if you just recognize that it's good. It is good. So do your best and make your best better, and it'll all work out for you in the end. You say, "Well, it ain't worked out yet." Then it ain't the end. If you ain't dead, you ain't done. You got life. You got hope. You can make it, friend. Hey, this is Steve from over at the Meadow Drive Baptist Church. If I can help you with anything, get in touch with us. Our phone number, it'll come up on here in a minute. That's my cell number. You can call me. Let me see if I got anything important in here that somebody might be trying to tell me. But if you need anything, get in touch with us. We'll be glad to help you out if we can. We have a food pantry there at the church, and we got a good bunch of folks there. We're off of University Drive there at the Jet Pep, and you turn there at the Jet Pep and go down about 3 blocks down on the left. It's the Brick Church down there. We have a second mile preschool there for a lot of the kids in the neighborhood, kids in the area. But we got a good church. We got a good bunch of folks, and if you're looking for a church home, stop by 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. I ain't gonna ask you to come to Sunday school. Don't come on Sunday night. Don't come on Wednesday night. But just drop in one Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. We'd be glad to see you. And the Lord's been good to us. We got a good group of folks there. But hey, friend, keep your attitude up. Work on that attitude. Keep it up. It's gonna be good. You're gonna make it. It's gonna be better. It's gonna be great. It is. I promise it is. All things are going to turn out good. It's going to be good. Just hang in there like an old rusty fish hook. Say amen right there. Amen. Cut. I wanted to add a little bit more to the story I was telling about the cookware salesman. I said if I'm going to sell what John Jones buys, and I've got to see through John Jones' eyes, I need to see that you're convinced. Well, that's from the buyer's point of view, but from the seller's point of view, what this fella needed is he needed to be convinced. You see, to be convincing, you've got to be convinced. You've got to be convinced that the product you're selling is best ever was. You've got to be convinced that it's worth the sacrifice. You see, if you're trying to sell me something and you're not willing to make the sacrifice to have it yourself, then you're not going to convince me that it's worth me making the sacrifice to have it. These broadcasts that we put on here, we've got several folks from the Meadow Drive Baptist Church who are given to help out with the broadcast, but what they don't put in, if I need to, I'll make it up myself. Because I believe in the message that I'm trying to give you. I believe in trying to help you. That's what I'm doing. That's why I go to the DRC and speak to those guys. I care about those guys. And especially a couple of guys who, they seem to take it. They seem to be getting it. You feed the ones that's eating. The guy with his head on the desk, I don't care. He ain't listening. His body's there, but his mind's somewhere else. And you know what he's done? He's got his mind is like concrete, thoroughly mixed and set, and nobody's going to tell him how to live. Nobody's going to change his life. And I'm thinking to myself, what is it about prison you like so well that you want to go back? Was the food that good? Was the companionship that good? Did you like the beds made at the prison? I mean, what was it at prison? Because he's going back. He won't change his mind. He's, and I don't understand that. You have got to look at your life and what's wrong in your life, fix it. You've got the choice, fix it. If you don't, and it's like, if you don't like what you're reaping, then change what you're sowing. But he must like what he's reaping, or either he don't believe it's possible, or he's all caught up in the now. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I've made mistakes in my life, and I've tried to make changes in my life. And I've made changes where I can. But, here's a guy, there's people trying to help him, and he fights with them all the time. He's fighting with the officers in there, He's fighting about this, fighting about that. Miss Patrick come in, and they'll give her a hard time. She's there to try to help you. We're all there to try to help you. And a few guys get it, but, I was talking to Miss Patrick, who's in charge of the place, great lady, Alabama fan, Roll Tide Miss Patrick. But she's there trying to help them, and I was in there talking to her one day, and she said, I agree. If we just help one person, it'd be worth it. It really would. If you could help one person, turn one person around, it would be worth it. So, friend, if we can help you with anything, get in touch with us. That's what we're here for. We're trying to help you. We're trying to encourage you. We're trying to be your cheerleader. I'm not going to do them cheers. Rah, rah, ree, kick them in the knee. Rah, rah, rash, kick them in the other knee. I'm not going to do that one again. But I want you to do good. I want you to have a good life. I want you to have a positive attitude. If you'll do it, if you'll sow good, you'll reap good. Say amen right there. God bless you. Goodbye.